I woke up before dawn, long before the alarm went off. The air in the house felt different that morning, still, heavy, almost sacred. My daughter's wedding day. For 23 years, every decision I made, every hour I worked, every tear I swallowed quietly, led to this moment. I wanted everything to be perfect. Downstairs, the bouquet waited in a glass vase. The smell of white roses filled the kitchen, reminding me of the day she was born, when I held her for the first time and promised that she would never feel abandoned the way I once did. The morning rushed by in a blur of laughter and hairspray. She looked stunning in her dress, soft lace, trembling hands, nervous smile. When she turned to me and whispered, "Mom, thank you for everything," my heart tightened. I thought, this is the happiest day of my life. At the church, sunlight poured through stained glass windows. Guests took their seats, music played, and I could barely breathe from pride. The ceremony passed like a dream. When they said their vows, I felt the years melt away. The loneliness, the fear, the exhaustion. It all suddenly seemed worth it. Later, at the reception, I stood near the edge of the crowd, watching my daughter dance. Her laughter was contagious, the kind that fills a room and erases pain. People congratulated me, saying I'd raised a wonderful girl. I smiled, nodding, hiding the ache that never truly left me. And then everything changed. The doors opened behind me, a sudden gust of wind brushing my back. I turned, and for a moment I thought my heart had stopped. He was standing there, Daniel, the man I had tried to forget for half my life. His hair had gone gray at the temples, but the look in his eyes was the same. Calm, confident, unsettling. He shouldn't have been there. He didn't even know about the wedding. Or maybe he did. Maybe he had been watching all along. I froze as he walked in, carrying a small box wrapped in silver paper. Guests turned their heads, curious. He smiled politely, as if he belonged there. My fingers trembled against the edge of my glass. For years, I had imagined what I'd do if I ever saw him again.
Yell. Cry.
Walk away. But now, in front of everyone, I couldn't move or speak. I just stood there, silent, praying he would leave. But when the host announced, "Anyone who wishes to say a few words may come forward," I saw Daniel step onto the stage. The microphone gleamed under the lights. He looked directly at me, then at my daughter. "Sorry for interrupting," he said, his voice steady. "But before we continue, I need to tell you all something about the bride." The music stopped. Chairs creaked. My breath caught in my throat. And in that instant, I knew the secret I had buried for 23 years was about to rise to the surface. The air in the hall turned heavy, as if all the oxygen had been pulled away. Every pair of eyes shifted from Daniel to me. My daughter stood frozen beside her husband, confusion on her face. I wanted to shout, to tell him to stop, but my voice refused to leave my throat. He adjusted the microphone, calm, deliberate, like he'd rehearsed every word. "I know I wasn't invited," he began, "but there's something I've carried for years, something that belongs to her." He pointed toward my daughter. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs. Every second stretched into eternity. I had hidden this secret for so long, buried it deep beneath work, exhaustion, and the daily routine of survival. No one knew, not even my parents, not my friends, only me and him. He opened the small silver box. Inside was a faded photograph. Even from across the room, I recognized it instantly. A younger version of me, laughing, holding a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. My baby. My daughter. A gasp escaped my lips. Someone in the audience whispered, "Is that her?" Daniel's voice trembled slightly now, but he continued, "I took this picture before she left me. Before I knew I'd lose both of them." He looked directly at me then, and for a split second, I saw something almost human in his eyes. Regret, perhaps, or guilt. But it didn't matter. He had no right to be here, not after all these years. I wanted to run to the stage, to tear that photo from his hands, but my legs wouldn't move. My daughter turned toward me, her face pale. "Mom, what is he talking about?" she asked softly, but the microphone picked up her words, echoing through the room. Every sound in the hall seemed amplified: the clinking of glasses, the rustled dresses, someone's uneasy cough. Then Daniel said the words I'd dreaded for decades. "I am her father." A collective gasp rippled through the hall. My daughter's eyes widened, searching my face for denial, for an explanation. I wanted to give it, but all that came out was silence. My lips trembled. My body felt numb. I could see the pain on her face, the disbelief, the betrayal. She had always asked about her father when she was little. I'd told her he died before she was born. I thought I was protecting her. I thought I was protecting both of us. Daniel stepped down from the stage, leaving a photo on the table beside the cake. He didn't look triumphant. He looked tired, broken even. But his truth had already detonated like a bomb. My daughter ran out of the room, her veil fluttering behind her. Guests whispered, their pity cutting deeper than any knife. Someone tried to comfort me, but I barely heard them. All I could think was that everything I'd built, every lie told out of love, every sacrifice, had just collapsed in front of everyone I knew. And as the music stopped completely, I stood there under the bright wedding lights, realizing that my past had finally caught up with me, dressed in a suit and holding a silver box. The hall emptied slowly, like the aftermath of a storm. Laughter, music, applause, all of it gone, leaving only broken whispers and clinking glasses. I stood in the middle of it, surrounded by half-eaten cake and wilted flowers. My hands were trembling, but my mind was strangely clear. I had to find her. Outside, the night air was sharp and cold. The parking lot was almost empty. I spotted her at the far end, still in her wedding dress, leaning against the hood of her husband's car. Her veil had come loose, tangled in her hair. She looked so young, so hurt. My heart ached at the sight. I walked toward her slowly, afraid every step might push her further away. She didn't look up. When I reached her, she said quietly, without turning her head, "You lied to me my whole life." Her voice wasn't angry, it was worse. It was hollow. I wanted to explain, to tell her how scared I was, how I thought I was protecting her. But how could I justify years of silence in a single sentence? "I was trying to keep you safe," I whispered. He hurt me. I didn't want him to hurt you too." She finally looked at me. Her eyes, so much like his, glistened in the dim light. "Safe from what?" "The truth." Her words cut deep, sharper than any accusation. I wanted to tell her about the night he left, about the woman I saw him with, about the promise he broke. But this wasn't about me anymore. It was about her right to know who she was. I reached out, but she stepped back. "You made me believe he was dead," she said, her voice shaking. "Do you know what that did to me? I mourned someone who was alive." Tears blurred my vision. "I know," I said. "And I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't want you to grow up wondering why he left. I wanted you to believe he loved you, even if it wasn't true." The silence between us was unbearable. In the distance, I could hear faint music from the hall starting again, as if the world was moving on without us. Finally, she spoke again, softer this time. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet." I nodded. "You don't have to."
Not now.
She sighed, rubbing her hands over her face, smearing her makeup. I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're still you," I said quietly. "Nothing changes that." She didn't answer. She walked away slowly, her white dress trailing across the pavement. I watched her go, feeling like I was losing her all over again. When she disappeared around the corner, I finally let myself cry. I cried for the years lost, for the lies told out of love, for the truth that came too late. And in that moment, under the pale streetlight, I realized that secrets never really die. They wait, patiently, until the day they're ready to destroy everything you've built on top of them. That night, I couldn't sleep. The image of my daughter's face haunted me, the pain in her eyes, the betrayal in her voice. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her standing there in the white dress, asking me why. The house was silent now, but my mind wasn't. It wandered back to the beginning, the time when everything had seemed simple, before I learned how easily love could destroy. I met Daniel when I was 20. I was working part-time at a small cafe near campus, trying to pay for my classes. He came in one afternoon during a thunderstorm, drenched, laughing, charming in that effortless way that always warned of danger. I should have known. But when he smiled at me, it felt like sunlight after a long winter. He was older, confident, already successful. I was young, naive, and lonely. He said all the right things, promised all the right dreams. Within months, I thought he was my future. We spent nights talking about names for our children, plans for a little house with white curtains and a garden. I believed every word, until the night I saw him with someone else. I remember the smell of rain that night, the ache in my chest as I watched him hold another woman's hand outside that same cafe. She was laughing, the same laugh I once had when I still believed in him. He saw me across the street and froze. I didn't wait for excuses. I turned and ran. When I found out I was pregnant a month later, I told no one. My family was strict, judgmental. They would have forced me to beg him for help. But I couldn't face him again. I decided to raise the baby alone, even if it meant lying to everyone. The night I went into labor, I remember whispering to the nurse that the father was gone. She thought I meant he was dead, and I didn't correct her.
It was easier that way.
The story spread quickly, and I let it. A lie born from exhaustion became the truth I lived with. For years, I built a life on that silence. I worked double shifts, skipped meals, sacrificed everything so my daughter would never feel the absence I did. When she asked about him as a child, I told her he was kind and brave, but had to leave too soon. She would smile and say, "Then I'll be brave too, Mom." And every time she said it, guilt twisted deeper inside me. Now, after all these years, Daniel's face had returned, older, but still capable of breaking everything with a single word. Maybe he had changed. Maybe he hadn't. It didn't matter. His truth had already shattered the only thing that ever mattered to me, her trust. I sat by the window, watching the first light of dawn creep across the horizon. My hands were shaking as I whispered to the empty room. I did what I thought was right, but even as I said it, I wasn't sure if I believed it anymore. 3 days passed before I saw him again. 3 endless days of silence from my daughter, of calls that went unanswered, of rooms that felt colder than ever before. I thought I had cried out every tear I could, but grief has no bottom, only layers that sink deeper each day. He called that evening. His voice was quiet, uncertain, like he knew he had no right to speak my name.
"We need to talk," he said.
I didn't agree right away, but a part of me needed answers too, not for him, not even for my daughter, but for myself. We met at a small cafe near the river, the same one where we had first met decades ago. Time had changed it, new owners, brighter walls, but when I walked in, the air still smelled of coffee and rain. He was already there, sitting by the window, hands folded, eyes down. When he looked up, I saw the man I once loved, buried beneath the years. Not the same, not forgiven, but familiar. He smiled faintly, as if remembering, and I felt something twist inside me. "I shouldn't have come to the wedding," he said first. But I couldn't watch from a distance anymore. I stayed silent. There was nothing to say that could undo what he'd done. He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "I didn't know you were pregnant back then. I swear, Claire. When you disappeared, I looked for you. I thought you'd just left me." Left him? The irony almost made me laugh. "You were holding another woman's hand the night I left," I said softly. "Do you remember her?" His face paled. "That wasn't what you think." "It doesn't matter anymore," I interrupted. "You made your choice, and I made mine." Silence stretched between us. The cafe around us was filled with the hum of quiet conversations, the clatter of cups. Yet in that moment, it felt like we were the only 2 people left in the world. "I came that night because I wanted her to know," he said finally. "Not to hurt you, but because I couldn't live with the lie any longer. She deserved to know where she came from." I stared at him, searching for even a flicker of understanding. And you thought a microphone and a wedding full of strangers was the place to tell her? His eyes filled with something that looked like shame.
I didn't plan it that way.
I thought I'd just watch from the back. But when I saw her, I couldn't stand being invisible anymore. I leaned back, my chest tightening. You already were invisible, Daniel. For 23 years. That was your choice. He looked down at his hands. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The river outside shimmered in the evening light, and I thought of my daughter, somewhere out there, trying to make sense of two parents who had failed her in different ways. When I stood to leave, he said quietly, I want to know her, Claire.
Not to replace you, not to fix the past.
Just to be present. If she lets me. I paused, staring at him for a long moment. That's not my decision anymore, I said. But if you really mean that, don't chase her.
Wait.
Let her come to you. He nodded. Will you tell her that? I hesitated, then whispered, if she ever wants to listen. As I walked away, I realized that forgiveness wasn't a single act. It was a slow unraveling of pain. And though I didn't forgive him yet, I no longer hated him either. Somewhere deep down, that felt like a beginning. A week passed before I saw her again. The silence between us had grown into something unbearable, heavier than guilt, colder than anger. Each day I woke up hoping she'd call, and each night I went to bed imagining the sound of her voice. The house felt emptier than ever. Every object reminded me of her laughter echoing down the hallway, her shoes by the door, her favorite mug still sitting by the sink. Then one evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I heard the sound of a car outside. When I opened the door, she was there. My daughter, still in the same coat she wore the night she left, her eyes tired, her face pale but composed. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. I stepped aside, and she walked in without a word. The air between us carried everything that had gone unsaid. She sat down at the kitchen table, folding her hands the same way I always did when I tried to control my emotions. Finally, she broke the silence. I went to see him. My chest tightened. When? Yesterday. I just needed to know. I sat across from her, afraid to breathe. And she looked down, her voice trembling. He told me his version of the story. That he didn't know I existed. That you disappeared. That he tried to find you. Her eyes met mine. Is it true? For a moment, I wanted to deny it, to protect myself with the same shield of silence I'd always used. But the lie had already cost me too much. Yes, I said softly. It's true. I left without telling him. I thought I was protecting you. I thought he'd never care. Tears welled up in her eyes. And you didn't think I deserved to decide that for myself?
Her words hit me like a slap.
I wanted to reach for her hand, but I didn't. I was scared. I whispered. I was 21, alone and broken. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust anyone. So, I built a world where we didn't need him. She nodded slowly, a single tear slipping down her cheek. I understand why you did it, but it still hurts. We sat in silence. The clock ticked loudly on the wall. Outside, the wind brushed against the windows like a quiet reminder that life went on, even when hearts didn't heal right away. I don't know what to do with all this, she said finally. It feels like everything I believed about my life was fake. It wasn't, I said, leaning forward. Every hug, every sleepless night, every sacrifice, all of it was real. The love was real. That's the only thing I never lied about. She looked at me for a long time, then exhaled shakily. I know. Her voice softened. I just need time. I nodded. Take all the time you need. When she stood to leave, she hesitated at the door. For a brief second, she turned and said, he asked if we could all meet. Just once. I swallowed hard. If that's what you want, I'll be there. She nodded again, then walked into the fading light. And as I watched her go, I realized that forgiveness doesn't always look like a warm embrace. Sometimes it's just a quiet door left open, a chance for love to find its way back home. We chose a quiet place for the meeting, a small restaurant with high windows and plants that softened the sound of cutlery. Afternoon light spilled across the tables and painted slow-moving patterns on the floor. I arrived early and sat where I could see the door, palms pressed flat against the linen as if steadiness could be absorbed from fabric. I wasn't certain what I feared more: anger that would reopen every wound, or kindness that I would not know how to accept. They came together. My daughter walked a step ahead, her posture careful, as if balancing glass. Daniel kept a respectful distance behind her, eyes lowered, hands empty. No flowers, no gifts, no dramatic gestures. Only 3 people who had run out of ways to avoid the truth. We didn't begin with apologies. The waiter poured water. I noticed how my daughter's fingers trembled and how she stilled them by lacing them together. I remembered teaching her that when she was little, before school recitals and dentist visits. In that moment, the past reached quietly into the present and took a seat with us. She spoke first, not to accuse, but to set terms. She said she wanted answers, not performances. She would not be a battlefield or a prize. She needed history told cleanly, without the edits we had used to survive. I felt something in my chest loosen, relief, maybe because rules meant we had a path to follow. Daniel went back to the beginning. He described the night in the rain, the second pair of hands he should never have held, the shock on my face, and the emptiness after. He did not beg for sympathy. He admitted that his pride was a wall he hid behind until it hardened into habit. When he said he looked for me and failed, he did not list every attempt. He only said he failed. The restraint mattered. It made the words feel heavier. Then it was my turn. I told them about the fear that lived beneath my skin, about the pregnancy test in a bathroom that smelled of bleach and coffee, about the way silence can masquerade as strength when you are young and alone. I admitted that I shaped a ghost to protect a child, and that the ghost became the father she mourned, kinder than the living man, safer than reality, but still a lie. I did not ask to be forgiven for it. I simply named it and set it on the table between us. There were moments when my daughter looked at me, and I could see the girl she used to be, knees scabbed from the playground, braids too tight, brave because she thought I was. She listened to both of us, not as a judge, but as someone building a map of herself from pieces that had finally been labeled. When she did speak, it wasn't to deliver a verdict. She said she wanted a future that wasn't authored by our fear. She would not erase the years I gave her or the absence he left, but she would no longer let either define her.
We ordered food we barely touched.
Conversation shifted from confession to small, ordinary things, where she and her husband might live, the course she considered taking, the plant she kept failing to keep alive on the kitchen windowsill. The mundane arrived like the first warm day after a long winter, quiet, unannounced, unmistakable. At the end, the waiter asked if we wanted dessert. No one did, but I asked for 3 empty champagne flutes. It felt foolish even as the words left my mouth, yet they brought the glasses anyway. We filled them with water. No speeches, no clinking. I lifted mine a fraction and said only, to telling the truth sooner next time. It was not a celebration. It was a promise with a built-in warning. We stepped outside into a sky the color of clean paper. My daughter hugged me first, brief, uncertain, real. I felt the outline of her shoulder blades and wondered when she had become so strong. Then she turned to Daniel and allowed him an embrace that lasted just long enough to acknowledge both the empty years and the possibility of new ones. Boundaries, not walls. On the sidewalk, we took a photograph. There was no cake behind us, no flowers, no audience. Just 3 faces carrying different versions of the same story, framed by afternoon light. When I looked at the picture later, I saw something I had not expected. Not joy, not sorrow, space. Space around us and in us, clear and breathable. That night, I went home to a house that felt less haunted. I washed the single glass my daughter had used and left it to dry by the sink. In the quiet, I understood that forgiveness was not a door swinging open. It was a corridor you walked one measured step at a time, checking the lamps, learning where the floor creaked, refusing to turn back even when you wanted to. I lay down and finally slept without dreaming of microphones and wedding lights. In the morning, I opened the curtains and let the sun touch every corner of the room. The secret was no longer standing between us. It had been named, photographed, and filed away. No one applauded. Nothing dramatic happened. And yet, somewhere inside me, a long, slow thunder began to fade into the distance.